For the next hour, the green and gold are in charge. Welcome to In the Huddle on the Woodward Radio Network. In the Huddle is brought to you by Mole Lake Casino Lodge and Conference Center. Now, here's Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman B.J. Raji.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tanner's and Kimberly. Good to have you along. The Packers 24-3 winners over the St. Louis Rams yesterday. B.J. Raji alongside. We'll bring our guest in our next segment. Nice win. You know, it wasn't perfect. The defense had a little bit of an issue. The offense had a little bit of an issue at times. But you know what? You don't apologize for the win, do you?
Nah, not at all. I like the first part you said. It was a nice win. You know, we're not going to play our best every single week, but I think that ultimately, if we continue to get better, we'll have a shot in most of our games.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing to remember is, you know, I look at the offensive side of football. They have hardly had anything go wrong up to this point, and they didn't score in the second half. But that's like their first blemish on the card for the most part. That's going to happen. You're going to come out and you're not going to have every quarter is going to be lighting it up. Definitely.
I think that, you know, we went up, obviously, at halftime 24-3, and I think those guys on the other team decided that, you know, we're not going to get embarrassed out here in this field, and they came out and give them credit. They did a good job in the second half. Sometimes, you know, at this level, other teams are talented, and I think that they made their mind up that they weren't going to let us score.
Yeah, and I give you guys credit because, you know, they're trying to not get embarrassed, and you obviously don't want to be, you know, giving an 0-4 football team an opportunity to come back in your house and make it a game. So you knuckle down and you keep the points off the board.
Right, yeah. I know a lot of people are talking about the yardage. I mean, obviously we need to get that cleaned up, but I think that ultimately the adverse situations we faced yesterday, we were able to, you know, get some stops down in the red zone, get some takeaways, and I think ultimately kind of like close the door as far as their comeback. Yeah,
I heard Clay Matthews say yesterday after the game that you know, red zone defense, when we get red zone, it's like we tighten it up even more. And then the follow-up question was, well, why don't you just tighten it up a little sooner? You know, maybe it's just not that easy.
Right. Understanding the game and understanding, you know, we play certain schemes that, you know, at times there's the challenges for us depending on, you know, sometimes it's have a back you play. Our guy is talented, Steven Jackson, and the guy we're going to face next week. You know, you draw something up, you know, designed to hit certain gaps, but sometimes when running back ability kind of exceeds scheme, you have to kind of make up with that, and you have to kind of do some different things to kind of keep them off balance.
You knew Steven Jackson was going to be pretty solid, and he had a 99-yard day yesterday. He's pretty good. He's as good as anybody in the league, really.
He is. A lot of the times we watch the film today, because obviously on the field, I'm kind of like, man, what's going on? You know, this guy just seems like he's getting 4 or 5 a pop, and you watch the film, and it's just everyone's gap is sound. This guy just puts his foot in the ground and takes it the other direction, and you're asking a corner to come up and tackle such a big back. It's not an easy task.
And guys like Morgan Burnett, who I thought as the game went on had a good tackling day. He started off, he missed one, but he's got that big club in his hand. It's almost like you got to, you know, when you have that on your arm, you almost got to kind of get yourself into a play or two and kind of get used to it.
Right. Morgan, you know, is a young player, but I think everyone feels he's a solid tackler. Mm-hmm. And obviously we knew he wasn't going to be able to grab cloth with that club on his hand, but he gave us his best effort, and he obviously helped us win.
Yeah. Now Mike McCarthy said in his presser today that the tackling does have to get better. Analyze where he's coming from. What are the issues?
Well, we have goals every week. We want to kind of keep it to under 10% or less as far as missed tackles. So we'll calculate that off how many snaps we had and, you know, judge how many missed tackles, and they do the percentages. And this week, actually, we're kind of below our average. I think we're averaging like maybe 9 point something a game, and this week we had 8. So, I mean, it's a small difference, but I think if we continue to get better, we'll get that down to where we want to get that to.
Holding somebody without a touchdown in offensive happy National Football League is a pretty big accomplishment.
Yes, especially the way the game went. You know, those guys were, you know, we had some turnovers, and those guys had pretty good field position. And I think for us to come out and, you know, kind of shut the door on touchdowns, I think it's not easy to, you know, keep an offensive team in the National Football League out of the end zone, especially with a pretty good coordinator, McDaniels. You know, I just feel like I'm pretty proud of the performance, and hopefully this is we going on 6 quarters. It's 6 quarters that we've not let up a touchdown, so hopefully we can continue this, and this Sunday we can make it 10.
Well, you guys put yourselves in pretty good company. That's the 12th straight win dating back to last year.
Right.
And that ties the Vince Lombardi era 61 and 62 teams.
Right. Wow. I didn't even know that. That's a pretty good accomplishment. We all in this building know the type of coach and the type of teams that Coach Lombardi put together. I think that for us to even, scratch that surface as far as the winning streak, I think is outstanding. And hopefully we continue it.
On the injury front, Sam Shields with a concussion after that interception. Frank Zombo, hyperextended knee. Frank Zombo can't catch a break, can he?
I mean, he's up there. I think Mike Neal's #1 as far as not being able to catch a break. But Zombo, he's definitely, I feel bad for him. He came back, and he's a tough kid. That injury that he has, especially playing the position that we're asking him to play, isn't exactly easy when your shoulder blades messed up to actually go out there and hit offensive tackles every play and set the edge for our defense. But I think he did a good job. It's obviously unfortunate that he's hurt. And Sam, it's kind of not really funny, but if Sam takes a knee in the end zone, he avoids that completely. But, with the speed and the ball seal that he has, he's always looking to kind of return picks.
You can tell he was a young guy that hadn't had a lot of experience in that department yet because he was looking, but this guy's running straight at him from over here. And he's just teeing him up.
Right. I think it was, if you remember the last home game, I think he had a nice return after the interception down there. I guess he was kind of hoping for the same thing, but the guy from the St. Louis Rams wasn't having it.
Yeah, he was. He had his bell rung, and there's a chance he might not be able to make it back in time for the game with that concussion. He's going to have to go through that entire protocol for the week.
I'm not really exactly sure what the protocol is, but I think, if my memory serves me correct, I think that's automatically 1 game.
It is.
Okay. Is it?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I think so. Obviously, every club is different, but if I remember correctly, I think that's what it is.
I think Vic made it back, though, right away, didn't he? Earlier this year, he had one, and he was able to get back before 1 game.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Like I said, going back to, I don't know what our team philosophy is, but hopefully we can get it back.
Yeah,
if he's ready.
Packers doctors, and this is not a bad thing, their doctors have a tendency to lean on the being a little extra cautious, with the athlete more in mind. So.
Yeah, their philosophy is there's no reason to bring you back early if you're going to further injure, and instead of being out 3 to 4 weeks like they intended, you'll be out even longer once you come back and re-injure it and possibly worsen the injury.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back with more. We'll meet our guest tonight from Tanner's here in Kimberly. Back with more after this on the Woodward Radio Network.
Now back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman B.J. Raji.
And we are back. Transportation for our guests provided by L&S Classic Limousine. Personal professional service for all occasions. Call 800-830-5933 for your reservation. Along with co-host B.J. Raji. Time to meet our guest tonight in his 2nd NFL season out of Texas Christian, a 5th-round pick of the Packers in 2010. The current starting left tackle, Marshall Newhouse.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. Every time I initially try to say your name, Robert Newhouse pops up on the tip of my tongue, and there's relation there, right?
Yeah, I've been hearing his name since I was little. He's my cousin, and he was great for the Cowboys. So always hearing stories about him and people watching him growing up. So
he played a long time for Dallas, didn't he?
Yeah, he played 10+ years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. You've taken over the left tackle position vacated by the injured Chad Clifton. And I got to tell you, you pretty much got thrown into that hot spot at the left tackle spot, and I don't quite frankly think you missed a beat.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's, I don't take it lightly at all. You never want to see one of your teammates go down. Chad's a good guy. We're hoping for a speedy recovery, but, when things get crazy, you got to just, man up and, do your best, and I'm glad I've been able to help us win. So,
BJ, tell me what you see in Marshall, and even all the way back to training camp. I thought he had a pretty good training camp, too.
Right. Yeah. I always knew, that Marshall had ability, but I never told Marshall this, but when I used to go in the weight room, like on the off days and stuff, I would always see Marshall in there working, but at the time, he wasn't even the left tackle, but he was just constantly working. He's one of the few guys that were there at that particular time, and I saw how much work he put into it. And then I saw the work on his balance. You don't see a lot of offensive linemen sometimes work on their balance. You see a lot of offensive linemen want to throw up a lot of weight, but I could tell that Marshall had a good head on his shoulder. And this game, the professional game that we play, many careers have been created and made off of injuries. And like you said, Marshall has done great. And a lot of the times, we were talking coming down here, a lot of the times when we protect, he's on the island 80% of the time against some of the premier pass rushers in this league. So I think that's a credit to his skill set and his preparation.
Well, the first time you came in, and then when Bulaga went down on the other side, and then Derek Sherrod had to come in, there was a point in time where I don't know what the Packer coaching staff thought, if they were going to have to dummy down the offense a little bit. Really never, there might have been for a series or two, but for the most part, Mike McCarthy said, you know what, we hit a stretch there where I think these two guys just really felt pretty good and pretty comfortable, and we were able to just roll with the offense. And I think that's the ultimate compliment when a reserve comes in at a key position and the play caller does not have to differentiate from the game plan.
Yeah, that means a lot coming from our head coach and my teammates. That they've seen me get the reps in practice, they've seen me execute, and they know that I know what I'm doing. So it builds a lot of confidence in me knowing that my teammates and my coaches have my back. You
were basically a bystander last season in your rookie year. You didn't get a single snap, and then eventually in December you hurt your back and they put you on IR for the rest of the year. What do you learn when you don't take a snap from scrimmage, but you're basically with the team and practicing all year long? What do you learn? How did that benefit you?
I mean, you definitely get a sense of the routine. When you're a rookie, everything's new, and you're just trying to keep up and follow the vets and see what they're doing and prepare. And I got to watch all those guys get ready for games leading up to the week, and then through all the playoffs and stuff, and just seeing how everybody operated and how things were done around here. Definitely made it easier coming into my second year.
You played left and right side. They've moved you back and forth even this season. Which one do you like better?
Whichever one helps us the most. I feel like when I came in for Brian, at that time they needed me the most there, and then the Atlanta game they needed me left the most. So whichever one they need me the most there, I'm gonna do my best and keep the offense rolling.
It's a good team answer, good team guy. I know you're a team guy. I know BJ's a team guy. I'm gonna give you a little piece of advice. You're going to want to specialize at left tackle because that's where the big money's at down the road.
I've heard that.
I'm pretty sure he knows that.
There's always value in versatility as well.
So you don't know how long that position is going to be yours. It could be yours all season. We don't know, where Chad Clifton's recovery process is going to be. He's a player that's been around the block for a while now, and so how do you just take it week by week and just do the best you can?
Yeah, even before Brian and Chad ever sustained injuries, I knew I was going to be one of the guys who was going to dress, and I was preparing every week like I was going to start just in case something happened. I was getting more and more reps with the team, with the ones, and I was just making sure I honed my skills, and just whenever I was ready, I would step in and not miss a beat.
Talked with BJ about the defense yesterday. What about the offense? You're lighting up the scoreboard in the first half, and in the second half, you can't find pay dirt at all. Was there a level of frustration that was growing amongst the offensive members?
Well, definitely, because we expect greatness, and there's definitely a small level of frustration, but not enough to just get us out of our game. There are a couple miscues here and there, stuff that happened, things that we weren't executing on, but it's all correctable stuff, which is it's positive and it's encouraging to know that all the stuff that we did can be corrected and we can get storing in.
You come from the Texas Christian Horned Frogs, 3-year starter.
Yes, sir.
And you, in your last year, you had quite a year, but you got a chance to play in the Fiesta Bowl. You were part of an undefeated Texas Christian football team, 12-0. That doesn't happen every day either.
It doesn't, and there's always talk of conferences and all that stuff, but winning football games is hard no matter where you are. And, we've definitely gained some respect and some national acclaim, and it's come as of a product of hard work, and that's what they instilled in us from the beginning at TCU.
You got thrown in against Atlanta, the Georgia Dome there. That was your first start, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How'd you handle the noise?
Actually, it wasn't the first start. Denver was. I started.
So that was the first game you got thrown in. Clifton went down in that game.
Right.
Yeah.
And I went to left. Yeah.
So how'd you handle the noise? I mean, you come in, you handle that. It seems
well,
like
we do a good job during the week of giving us a little taste of what the noise is going to be like. We got some stereos out there, and they blasted pretty loud. BJ knows.
Definitely.
So it almost gets to a point where you kind of tune it out and you're just focused on the center and the quarterback. And, you know, when they get it loud in there, it can affect you, or you can just rise above it. And we did a good job of rising above it in Atlanta.
Yeah, I got to tell you, there was in training camp, I mean, they turned those big speakers on even back then to give you guys a taste, especially when you're preparing, getting close to a preseason game. And there was some, you know, they always have the sponsors and the fans they bring into practice and let them stand along the sidelines. And there was one guy that was standing right in front of that thing, and they turned that thing on loud. I mean, it's like a jet engine. It's what it's like, you know. And I don't know if I think that guy had to go change his pants.
Right. Yeah, believe it or not, when we're playing home, the defense obviously has, not obviously, but we have the noise problem because we're trying to relay calls to each other, and when our home crowd is loud, it kind of makes it tough at times. So like Marshall said, if we have a home game on the schedule for this week or whatever week we're playing, we'll practice with the noise when we're on defense. So we get accustomed to communicating and talking a little louder than if you're on the road, and when it's obviously easier to hear when the opposing team's fans are trying to be quiet.
I thought it was exceptionally loud yesterday. What did you think?
At times it was pretty loud. Yeah, it was good to see. You know, a lot of the towels waving and people standing and cheering. It was fun.
And that's only going to grow, BJ.
Right. Man, we understand. You know, anytime you have because I like to think that the pregame and the tailgate factors into the noise, and when you have you know, a noon kickoff, it's kind of tough. So I understand, but you know, our fans eventually got into it, and in the first half we were able to give them a good show, and they got into it, and that was that.
Well, I think with the increased security measures, and they wanted everybody to get to their gates and get in early. So I think this crowd was in early in their seats and kind of at a fever pitch. I mean, they were ready to go.
I saw that on the news, and I was excited to see that the people were real organized, and that's a lot of people to get into a stadium, you know, at a certain time. I think that they did a good job, and I think that that's great that our fans could get there, you know, for the most part, be there for pregame and to kind of see us and kind of get revved up, and when we come out to kind of get going.
Yeah, so you mentioned your uncle, Robert, played for the Cowboys, and you've got cousins that have played college football. Your dad played for the University of Houston, played in 3 Cotton Bowls, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's when the Cotton Bowl was something. The Cotton Bowl was a big game back then.
Cotton Bowl was one of the top 5 teams in the country, played in that every year. Yeah.
So your Fiesta Bowl, pretty good experience, huh?
It was a great experience. Yeah. You know, wouldn't change for the world. Obviously, we like to come out with a win, especially it being my last college game, but that group of guys was just a lot of fun to be around. And, you know, I kind of took for granted I went to a bowl game every year. Not every team gets to go to a bowl game, and that's a good chance to kind of let loose and then also show your team skills on a national level.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back with more from Tanner's, and we'll continue with our guest here from Tanner's and Kimberly on the Woodward Radio Network.
To In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman B.J. Raji.
And we are back at Tanner's here in Kimberly, brought to you by Mole Lake Casino, Lodge and Conference Center. More than great games and casino action, Mole Lake offers first-class accommodations in their 75-room resort hotel, including family suites and whirlpool suites, along with a fitness center, swimming pool, and full-service conference center. That is Mole Lake Casino, Lodge and Conference Center. Back with B.J. Raji and our guest tonight, Marshall Newhouse, the Packers left tackle. Packers win it over the Rams 24-3. Mike McCarthy brought up, interesting you brought up Mike Neal's name, because Mike McCarthy brought him up at the press conference, said he's coming along pretty good in his workouts. Not going to be ready this week, but they're really hoping that shortly after the bye that he'll be able to return and play for the Packers.
Oh, that'll be great. That's great news. Obviously, I haven't heard that yet. I'm real close with Mike, and I know how much he wants to get back. And when you're young, and a team invest that much money into you, it's kind of a you love the game of football, but it's kind of a pride thing. He wants to prove to all the fans, and to prove to us that he can play and he can stay healthy for a long season, and help us in the playoffs when we really need him.
Coach called you guys what he considered a mature football team. What do you think he means by that?
I think maturity comes with experience, and we've obviously been through a lot in my tenure here, but I think last year we kind of really honed in, and I think the confidence level was there, but I think the dedication was there. You really saw how dedicated guys were to winning, and myself, I'm a huge competitor, so when I know that 10 guys outside of me, around me on the field, are just as concerned with winning than their own individual stats. It definitely brings a closeness, and I think that we understand that we can handle any adversity, if we just play together and trust our schemes.
Remember the coach's motto right after the game yesterday? In the locker room, his message to you guys?
It was something about a 1-week season.
7 days to 7-0.
Oh, right.
Yeah, 7. Does he do that every week? 7 days to 8-0, 7 days to 6-0?
I just think Coach McCarthy is a great coach, and I don't think he has anything planned. I think he just really says what's on his mind, and he relays that to us the best he knows how. And I think that for being young men, other people, just grown men, I think you appreciate that when a man just talks to you like a man and treats you like a man, and he'll just shoot it to you straight.
Seems like a great motivator, though. I mean, he comes up with the perfect lines that kind of set the stage for your practice week as you go along.
Right. You call them perfect lines. I just call it being honest, being real, and he's not the type of coach. He's going to tell you like it is. If he felt we played well as a defense or offense or team, he'll let you know. But if he felt we came up a little short, he won't hesitate to speak on it. And I think that's what separates him as far as being a leader, is that sometimes you're not as concerned with feelings. Like I said, going back to he treats us like men, but that has two sides to it. If he gives us some leeway on one end, and he's going to expect more on the other, and when he doesn't get it, he'll let us know about it.
What do you think Mike McCarthy would have done if Jim Harbaugh would have come kicking his heels, celebrating a victory for the handshake, and then all that would have happened? Did the Lions coach overreact, or did he react like any other coach would have reacted?
To be honest, what do you think, Marsh?
I can't speak for any other coach, but I know our coach, no matter what situation, he would have used a lot of class, and he would have kept a level head, and just realized that that's a small piece of the puzzle. After a game, that handshake is kind of just a formality, and no matter what happened, he would have kept the Green Bay Packer expectations there. He's a class guy, and he would have treated it as such.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a little overreaction on Schwartz's part. Because a few of my coaches, they know Harborough, John and Jim, they grew up together in the Ohio area, and they're just, from what I hear, they're just tough kids. Like he's a tough guy. He wasn't intended to harm him or anything. He was just excited. You look at what he's done. I mean, they're 4-1 with the short off season, with primarily the coaching staff that's on that team was the same coaching staff of Mike Singletary. So I have to believe it's his presence and aura that's allowed him to be so successful. And I think he was just excited. You got a big win, an undefeated team in their house, when pretty much all you heard all week was about the Detroit Lions. Mm-hmm. So I think he's excited for his team and what they accomplished in such a short period of time.
And they've got Alex Smith, who had been in and out of the starting lineup probably 3 different times.
Right. Obviously we all know he was the #1 pick, and people will say what they want to say about that. He's obviously haven't lived up to what I guess they expected him to. But in a few months, that he's playing real great for them, and for their sake, I hope they continue to do it.
Starting to feel about Mason Crosby like I feel about Aaron Rodgers. Pretty automatic.
Yeah, Mace is. When I see him line up to go out there, because obviously everyone wants to score touchdowns, but when I see Mace go out there, I just pretty much count that as points. He has great concentration. I think he does what he needs to do to make the kick, and I think ultimately that's what helps us as a team as well.
All right, now I got to ask you guys. You guys are big guys.
Right.
Was it hard moving around in that wind yesterday?
No, it was definitely a little windy, more than what we're used to.
Yeah.
But I think it's good football weather, man. Especially in Green Bay, Wisconsin. In the October game, for it to be that was the 50s. Was it 50s?
Yeah, it was 50s. Yeah.
I think that's good weather for football. And I think obviously we're not accustomed to that wind, but ultimately we came out good.
Yeah. See one of those light receivers starting to blow by, and they just maybe grab onto Marshall's arms. He's the anchor.
We don't have any long hair like Clay or Josh sitting to blow in the wind. So.
Well, you could always tell which way the wind was blowing because you just had to look at Clay Matthews' hair, and then you'd know. So
I just know when I feel water, on my arm or leg or come across my face, I just look over and I notice it's Clay doing his Fabio impersonation.
Doesn't that just gross you out?
It's him, you know what I mean? That's one thing about Clay, he's himself, and that's what he does.
Late first half, Aaron Rodgers avoiding 2 different sack attempts by spinning, eventually finding Ryan Grant for 15 yards. He later ran for 9 yards to move the chains again. You know, I remember a couple of years ago his running wasn't quite as the end result. Sometimes he took too many chances. Maybe he didn't get down in time. He's become a pretty prolific runner right now.
I'll let Aaron's protector talk on this.
Well, Aaron just has good awareness in the pocket, and as an offensive line, we always go in the game hoping to give up 0 sacks, 0 pressures, 0 hurries. But we also know that there's good people on the other side of the ball, and sometimes plays break down. And Aaron's a playmaker, so he senses when stuff's not going the right way, and he'll scramble around. And we're taught to not have the play clock in our head and just block until the play is over. And that was a prime example of that in the game. A couple times he was moving around and looked kind of chaotic. He comes out on the other end. One time he throws a touchdown. One time he throws a long pass and just goes from a bad play to a great play.
He makes it look so easy sometimes. Sometimes you don't even appreciate the difficulty or degree of difficulty.
I do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. But yeah.
we see the film and some of those throws. I mean, I feel like I've been around football the majority of my life and see some of those throws, some of those plays. I'm like, that's not normal stuff. That's definitely not normal.
Yeah. Let's go back to those throwback uniforms. The blue ball on the front. I mean, you guys would be a great advertisement for the Powerball lottery,
Oh, you have something against that throwback jerseys, man?
I like the jersey top. I know you guys like the pants because they're pretty comfortable, apparently, right?
Yeah, I think
helmets are a little out of whack, but
yeah, I mean, typically all brown helmets is not what you're shooting for, but I think ultimately, just my opinion is anytime you have the ability to switch up, maybe once a season, I would like to do a little more, but anytime we can do that, I think that's needed within itself, and I think that our fans really like it. And stop nitpicking at our jerseys, Bill.
I'm not afraid to tell you they're ugly. I think certain parts of them look good by themselves, just when you throw all that mess of colors together. But what's so comfortable about the pants? Everybody says they like the pants.
People say, actually, the equipment guys talked about it. The stripe on the side of our pants, it's like a different material than the pants. Mm-hmm. But obviously, these game pants we wore Sunday, they didn't have any stripes, so it was kind of that comfortable material.
I agree.
I
agree. It's a big difference.
All right, the Jordy Nelson with another long one, 93 yards for a touchdown.
Nice.
It's like won a game for this guy.
I love it. Anytime I see Jordy go deep, I'm always looking. I'm looking at Aaron. I'm looking back at Jordy. When I see the ball go up in the air, I knew it was a good chance that he was going to catch it. And not too many people are going to run Jordy down when he has the ball with the full head of steam.
No, Al Harris, he was kind of just shaking his arms, shaking his head. What do you do with that?
Yeah, it was a good play, good throw, good catch.
He knows that all too well.
Yeah, all right. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back. Our email segment of the week is coming up, brought to you by Granite Peak Ski Area. Back with more from Tanner's and Kimberly after this on the Woodward Radio Network.
Now, back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman B.J. Raji.
And we are back here at Tanner's in Kimberly. Good to have you along with B.J. Raji and Marshall Newhouse. I'd like to welcome listeners to the show tonight across the state, listening in Madison on WTSO, in Oconto on WOCO, up in Anago on WACD, in Rice Lake on WJCM, and in Wisconsin Rapids on WFHR. Time now for our email segment, brought to you by Granite Peak Ski Area in Wausau, the tallest and largest ski area in Wisconsin, with over 700 vertical feet and 74 runs. This year offers an expanded beginner area, a new fleet of rental equipment, and 10 new snow guns for the best snowmaking in the state. For more information and discounted season passes and lift tickets, go to skigranitepeak.com today. Time now for our email segment. Let's head out to Justin.
All right, thanks, Bill. Remember, inthehuddleshow.com. That's the website. You can go there each and every week and submit a question. First question comes from Jeremy in Kakan. It's for you, Marshall. Last year, you traveled last May to Haiti for a week-long mission trip. Is that something you have done a lot in the past, and can you talk a little bit about the experience?
That was my first trip. That was actually my second trip overseas, and then my first trip kind of that nature of a mission. But I went over. I had some friends who have helped start an organization over there called Mission of Hope, and it's just a place where they go and they help there's a lot of orphans out there, and a lot of people are just really they've been affected by the hurricane, and their whole lives are just kind of hanging by threads. And just to go over there and do what little we could to help, it was a great thing, and I jumped on the opportunity as soon as I found out we were going to have a little extended time.
Tell us a little bit more about that organization, Mission of Hope, too. Is there like website or all that stuff, too?
Yeah, you can Google just Mission of Hope in Haiti. And, you know, what they do is they have an orphanage there, and they're building buildings, and what they're helping do is helping the Haitians help themselves. They're training the young kids that are going to grow up and eventually help run the country, because their goal is to be out of there. They don't want to be there and be thumbing around in there. Hopefully they help them get them back on their feet and then have the doctors of their own and all that stuff. So
that's outstanding, Marshall. We'll get to our next question from Ann, also for you, Marshall. In your bio, it lists a hobby as drawing. What do you like to draw, and have you taken art classes for your skill?
Well, I was an art minor in school. You know, just kind of something I was kind of good at, and my coaches pointed me in that direction. But I draw a lot of stuff, just kind of scenery and all that stuff, and I enjoy it. It kind of takes me away from football for a little bit, and it puts me in another mood. But you know, it's a lot of fun for me.
You were an art minor. What did you major in?
I was an advertising and public relations major.
BJ, what did you what did you major in?
Sociology.
Okay. All right, we'll get
So
to
what are you
the.
going to do with that?
What's that?
Any ideas what you can do with that?
Play football.
Okay.
Well, let me ask this. I mean, should schools? I mean, should they have majors in sports? I mean, there's a lot of athletes that just go just to play football or basketball.
Yeah, when you're talking about a prestigious academic university like Boston College, some state schools might have the option to kind of slack up, but when you're an Eagle, you work for yours.
It's a prestigious academic. I'm not even going to go to the football team this year at least.
Yeah, you know what? It's no different than high school going to college going to the pros. The number of people that actually make it at the next level is a very small percentage. If you went with, basically no degree that's going to help you down the road, 99% of the college football players, or 98%, whatever that number is, you're going to waste 5 years and a lot of money. So.
Very true.
All right, we'll get to the next question here from Tom and Madison. It's a two-parter. Which one of your coaches would most likely get into an altercation with another coach, and who is the coach that would most likely be able to win a fight with any other coach?
We're talking on our staff or like anywhere?
Your staff.
Oh, man. Wow. How can I say this? We have, I think what makes our coaches good is that they're fiery. I don't think that they would lose their composure and, obviously get into an altercation, but I've definitely heard some choice words on the sidelines for the officials, for other players at times. So it's just, I'm not going to name names. It's never good when you're naming names like that.
I feel like that's a trick question.
The audience brought up Kevin Green. Now, he seems like he is a character.
To say the least, yeah, he's a character.
Yeah, he's very competitive. He obviously had a lot of success playing the game, and he knows the game. But I think he does a good job of keeping it bottled up. He'll show his emotions in kind of like a weird way. A lot of fist pumps and a lot of different things like that. But he's never really angry.
Kevin Green, I'll throw my 2 cents in. I don't think I'd sell Mike Turkovic short, and also I don't think I'd sell Winston Moss short either. So those would be 3 guys that'd be pretty solid.
You didn't hear that from me.
Our coaches are pretty scrappy, so I wouldn't put it past any of them.
What about McCarthy? Could you ever see him getting into a...
That would have to be extreme circumstances. I think he does a good job of, bottling his emotions. I don't see him pulling a Swartz at all. But if someone crossed him in the wrong way...
Don't mistake that for weakness, man. He'll
Coach
get
McCarthy would definitely let him have it.
It's that Pittsburgh macho.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, another question here coming from Dennis in Appleton. Does it ever bother you when people criticize a team that is unbeaten?
No, that's kind of the right as a fan, is just to be critical of your team. And, definitely I wouldn't take for granted, because being undefeated just doesn't happen a lot. But, what fans need to know is that we criticize ourselves more than y'all ever do. We're so self-critical, and that's why we go in and watch film. That's why we go in and lift weights, because there's always stuff to improve on. So I don't get mad at a fan for criticizing us, no.
When pro football is probably the most popular professional sport in this nation. So I think that there's a lot of analysis all the time. A lot of breaking down of teams, of players, of stats. And I think that obviously the more in depth you get into it, you're obviously going to find some negativities. And depending on the angle of your story, you might use that to your advantage. So I just feel like at any given point, any team is subject to criticism, and it's a matter of how you take it. Like Marshall said, as players and coaches, you're kind of trained to take criticism in a way that.
All right, I got to cut you off there.
Now back to In the Huddle with Bill Scott and Green Bay defensive lineman B.J. Raji.
And we are back, and welcome to Tanner's Sports Bar and Grill in Kimberly. This is our final segment of the show. Let's go back to Justin Hall for tonight's Granite Peak Ski Package winner.
All right, we chose Jeremy tonight from Kaukauna. Had the question about Marshall's trip to Haiti, so he'll pick up the prize package from Granite Peak Ski Areas.
All right, congratulations. A ski package for two for a weekend up at Granite Peak in Wausau. Did you see the Saints coach, Sean Payton? You see that collision on the sideline?
That was pretty nasty.
Yeah, I know a better athlete coach would probably got out of the way of that. But I don't know. I think that, a lot of times on the sidelines you keep hearing like the strength coach, get back. And a lot of times coaches are so into the game that they're crowding the line of scrimmage. The sideline. I think that obviously if you can have that one back, you probably would have backed up a little bit.
Yeah, but Mike McCarthy, I always think of him because he's always got his head down on his chart pretty quick. As
right.
Sometimes the other play hasn't even finished yet, and he's already looking down. Mm-hmm. You wonder about stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of times it's just kind of like bad luck, kind of.
All right, baseball is headed to the World Series. Unfortunately, our Brewers didn't make it, but the Cardinals and the Rangers are in. I know you've been following the series. How about you, Marshall?
Yeah, I'm actually a Rangers fan.
All right. Who do you like? Now, you obviously like the Rangers.
I kind of like St. Louis in this one. I think, the experience of being there before. I know I got some bruise, but what are you going to do, I think that the experience will help them, I just think they'll do a good job.
Okay, there was a question that Justin had about people that are critical of teams that are unbeaten. Same goes for even players that, when you have a game like yesterday, defense gives up a lot of yards, but no point, or, no right. touchdowns. Offense scores a lot in the first half, but nothing in the second half. You're expected to say to yourself, well, God, we got to do better, and I'm going to, make sure we get that corrected when we watch the film and make sure we don't make the same mistakes again. But you really, and I don't know if this is an issue at all for you guys, but you really got to make sure that you enjoy the wins, don't you?
I was just going to say that. One of the first things Coach Capers said when we went into the meeting was, don't underestimate, the quality of a good NFL win. They're not easy to come by. You can ask the Rams about that. They would love to have some type of win at this point. I think anytime you're playing an NFL team with how much that's invested into that organization, you can never take a win lightly.
Are the coaches harder on you after a win or after a loss, or I guess that maybe it depends what kind of loss?
What do you think, Marsh?
It definitely depends on the loss. There's some times where if we just didn't execute and we knew we were better than the team and we weren't hitting all our cylinders and people were making mistakes and stuff like that, they'll definitely get into you. And very, very rarely has it ever been a game where they're mad at us for giving effort, because those are probably the worst, is when you think guys aren't giving all they have. But since I've been there, that hadn't been the case. But when we win, there's always stuff that we can find to get better, and it's just a matter of encouragement, knowing that, hey, we won, and we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, BJ, I think it's like the fat cat right. theory. You don't want to, some coaches, will do nothing but celebrate. And right. I'm not saying that happens at this level.
I know what you mean.
But then there's others that say, hey, this is a great time to make sure that we don't
right.
get too fat on this.
I think that's the point. When you're winning, there's no sensitivity. Players aren't defensive. They don't feel like you're attacking them. You're watching it to get better. When you have a win, coaches are obviously very critical, but I don't think the sensitivity from the player standpoint is there as opposed to a loss. And they're trying to dissect why we lost, and hey, this is the reason, BJ, you out of your gap. BJ, you got scooped. BJ, you didn't get enough push. As opposed to you winning, and it's BJ, do a better job with your hand here. Your footwork could be a little bit better. When you lose and when you win, sometimes me being a player, I've succumbed to it. You lose and then you get a little sensitive when a coach is coaching you. When he's really just saying the same thing he would say if you won, mm-hmm. but you're not as sensitive to the subject.
Yeah. All right. The Vikings are next, and you're going to get your first taste of Jared Allen on Sunday, and mm-hmm. I know you know what you're in for. What do you think you're in for?
It's going to be a challenge, especially at home. They're on their turf, and they're going to use that crowd noise. But we're going to have a great week of preparation, I feel like, and Coach is going to have a great game plan ready for us. And, we just got to trust our system, trust what we've been doing, lean on our weapons, and just play sound football, and I think we'll be okay.
I think you guys, BJ, have handled, like last week, going in to face the 0-4 Rams. I mean, those are probably the easiest teams to just say, hey, these guys are terrible. The Vikings are 1-5. They're not playing good football. They haven't had good quarterback play. They've done a lot of things wrong. But you go in there, you just never know.
Yeah, especially this season, they've played actually very well at home in the first half. They obviously had some let-ups, but from my standpoint, my side of the ball, we got the toughest back in the league, I think, this week, in my opinion. The fact that we're division rivals, I think, kind of amps that up a little bit as opposed to the familiarity with the two teams. St. Louis, they don't really know us as well as, the Minnesota Vikings know us. Just from my experience, we even do some things for division opponents in training camp just to kind of get our awareness up, and I'm sure they're doing the same, so we'll have to be ready for them.
Just your second divisional game as well against the Vikings. McNabb has been probably less than what they thought they were getting up to this point. They actually played Christian Ponder yesterday, threw for 99 yards, so it's getting to be that time where things don't go well. You might see a little bit of him, so it'll be interesting. The Vikings at the Metrodome, and that's a late afternoon start, 3:15. Guys, good luck next week, and we'll be back Monday to talk about it.
Thanks a lot.
Marshall, thanks for coming out.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Absolutely. Marshall Newhouse and DJ Raji. That'll do it for this week. We'll be back again next Monday night right here at Tanner's in Kimberly. For Evan Stanek, our engineer, Reggie Razou, our producer back at the studios, Phil Rothman, Justin Hull, thanks for all the help. We'll do it again next Monday night here at Tanner's in Kimberly on the Woodward Radio Network.